Hello, everybody. My name is Esteban, your host, and today I have with me Dr. Ken Barrett from inspirationandresults.com. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of lack mentality, right? Dr.
Yep.
Ken, lack mentality. Let's get right to it. How you doing,
Let's
Dr.
get right
Ken?
to it. So I'm talking to a physician, and this is why I thought of this. And he said he wants to hire some office coverage for his practice. And he said, well, I don't want to pay this money, and I don't know if enough people will come in to afford it. And it hit me that comes from an extreme place of lack. Your business should always be growing. You should be playing to win and not playing not to lose.
Wow. Playing to win versus playing not to lose. What's the difference?
Yeah. So when you play to win, you're winning the game. You don't care how much money you spend. You don't care, because all you want to do is win, get your goal, achieve your goals or whatever. Playing not to lose is hedging, is trying to be cautious. And, you can't, and one of my mentors used to say this all the time, you can't save your way to be wealthy. And it's funny because save your way to be wealthy. I'm talking to one of the Wall Street executives that I work with. I told him that. I said, you can't save your way to be wealthy. He's like, yeah, no shit. Yeah, of course. It's obvious to him, because what you have to do is spend your way to be wealthy.
Got it.
So, for us and for most people, it's creating a way so we can do whatever we're doing in our business. It's creating a pathway for that. And to do that, it costs money. You got to hire people, the right people. You got to get the resources. It's interesting. Tony Robbins told this story where he talks about how he asked business owners why do businesses fail? Why do most small businesses fail? And it's I don't have the staff isn't good enough. Or I don't have the finances. I'm underfunded. I don't have this. I don't have this. Those are all resources.
Okay.
The problem isn't the resources. The problem is that you're not resourceful enough, which is an emotional skill.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about being resourceful. Resourcefulness, right?
Yeah.
I've heard Tony talk about that too. He gave the example of when he did the TED Talk, and he was, who was he? He was one of the presidents, or one of the guys going for president, Al Gore. Remember Al Gore? He was trying to go for presidency. And he tells the story of that, of him giving the talk, and then he kind of put Al Gore in the hot seat, because Al Gore said, well, I didn't have enough votes, right? He said, I didn't have enough votes. And Tony basically made the point. It wasn't that you didn't have enough votes. It was, you weren't tapping into your resources, and that's probably why you didn't have enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And it's interesting because that comes from a real place of victim. Oh, poor me. I didn't have enough votes. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough whatever followers. I don't have enough whatever. Instead of saying, okay, how can I fix this?
How can I
fix this? How can I move forward, rather than being a victim to, I don't have enough whatever.
Right. So that's the root mentality then. That's the root program. So if you come from, and it's very difficult when you experience lack, or you come from a background of lack. Even wealth, there's people that have come from lack and have become extremely wealthy financially, but they're still poor. They still live in this lack mentality, right? You've heard of it.
You said you can. It really has nothing to do with how much money you have. It's my belief that God gives us an inspiration. The word desire literally means of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a desire in being, doing, or having something. So you should follow that desire, not follow money.
Okay.
This is pointed out to me years ago. If you let money make your decisions, you're worshiping money.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's say that again. If you let money make
your decision.
your decisions, you're worshiping money. How do you mean? How do you mean that?
Well, let's say you want to hire somebody for your business. You want to do something or have something or be something, right? And you say, "Oh, I can't afford that." You're letting money dictate what you can and can't do, not your desire.
So when you say I can't afford that, that comes from a habitual way of thinking, because we spoke about I can't versus how can I, right?
Yeah.
So there's the language of lack. There's language involved. There's training involved, right? So in reality, it's not the truth when you say I can't afford it. You're not really speaking the truth, or are you?
If you think, no, there is no truth.
Okay.
Yeah, there is no truth. It all has to do with what are you willing to do. Now, if people go to this place all the time. Oh, you're talking about. I've had people argue with me. I was talking to a dentist, working with a dentist, for instance, and I said, you don't have to live like this. Drives a crappy car, wears crappy clothes. He's a dentist. He should be making pretty good money. And I'm not willing to do anything unethical. Who said anything about? I would always advise my clients against doing anything unethical. My clients are usually let me think for a second. My clients, to my knowledge, have always been highly ethical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And actually, the people with money usually are, because they're so scrutinized. So it's not about that. It's about thinking differently to create. I was raised in a middle class mindset, in a very much working class mindset. My parents both had jobs. If they wanted more money, they would have to spend more time. Right? They'd have to work for it.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're trading your life for money.
Gotcha.
I don't believe that we were created for trading our life, this beautiful life, for money.
Okay. So let's talk about when you're trading time for money, you're following a model, right? That's a model that probably was taught to you, right? How did you, Dr. Kim, break out of that model? Because you said you grew up in that model, in that way of thinking. In a sense, that's lack mentality, right? Let me exchange my time for money. Is that lack mentality? Because there's other ways to generate income or generate wealth, right?
Of course. What's interesting is it's a fascinating question, because I thought I definitely wanted to break out of that model. So I started out, I was in high school, and I was always very, very working class. As a matter of fact, my dad, his dream for me was to buy a pickup truck and swing a hammer. Okay. I was always very mechanically inclined, very bright, become a builder, build things. And I always wanted to work with energetic systems and people. I was involved in martial arts. So I ended up becoming a chiropractic physician. And he wasn't disappointed. It's just that I wasn't raised in that. My immediate family, I'm the most educated person. So I thought that immediately would change everything for me, but it did not. I still came from a huge place of lack. It took more education and more learning. See, I was looking in the wrong place. I thought, let me get a better job and that'll fix everything. But that doesn't. You're still stuck. It's the same hamster wheel. It's just a bigger hamster. So I actually hired a mentor who charged a lot of money, and I wrote him a huge check. And since then, I've written a lot of huge checks. That in itself trains you. The money will just come back. It just comes back. Money just flows. It's like air.
Okay.
The thing to do is to confront the fear and the false fear that, if I lose this. I mean, what does your personal success or survival depend on? If you think about it, It's your ability to create, whatever you do as a business owner. And by the way, I'm speaking to business owners because this advice, if you have a job, would be slightly different, because if you have a job, then you're dependent on somebody else. Somebody else is telling you what kind of clothes you're going to wear, what kind of car you're going to drive, where your kids will go to school. Somebody else is dictating your entire life. But as a business owner, you get to create whatever you want.
Okay.
So the exciting part is you could simply shift your thinking to wealth consciousness, and this is easier said than done, and then create the life that you want to create. Have it all.
So you're operating from creation instead of necessity or lack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in terms of while you're creating, you could simply you don't have to make decisions anymore. You don't have to say, well, either my kids go to summer camp or they go to the private school. You don't have to do that anymore. You just do both. One of my clients, he's a Wall Street executive also, but he had a couple of businesses and he did well. And this happens at every single level, by the way. People say, oh, it takes money to make money. Yeah, that's bullshit, because if that were true, every millionaire would be a billionaire. So that's completely false. So this guy, he's like thinking, oh, well, I want to be able to do this or that. And I said, why don't you plan a trip, fly private? They wanted to go, his family wanted to go skiing on a skiing vacation in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So, so I said, just fly private. That's really a nice way to go. And then it was confronting for him at his level. That's confronting for him. If I was working for somebody who does that all the time, it's not. Does that make sense?
Right. So to him, it was out of the box, basically.
Yeah.
It was too much.
Yeah.
Did he do it or
no? He did end up doing it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Good.
Well, another one of my clients, he's he's a Wall Street guy, very, very smart guy, and he very, very conservative. Mm-hmm. And really, when you talk about somebody having money and not wanting to spend it, that was him. It's funny because when we first started working together, this is years ago, by the way, but he, this is when I was on my 5th iPhone or something. He still had a flip phone.
Wow. And money, and it wasn't the fact that he didn't have the money.
No. He has millions in the bank.
Wow.
So, but he didn't want to. The issue was he had so much fear around money, it paralyzed him. He was paralyzed by fear, so he couldn't spend any of it.
So it's almost like you hoarded. He hoarded the money.
Yeah.
And so, I like to think that money's like you said, like air, or it's an energy, right? So, but I like the air analogy, because if you hold your breath, right, and you don't take another breath, you faint, you could hurt yourself. So you have to release. And so I think a healthy relationship with money is one where you're an excellent giver and receiver, not just a receiver. You're just taking it all, right? You have to also be an excellent giver. So you have to be willing to release it and let it go. Now, obviously, there are intelligent ways to do this. That's why you have to be resourceful. So what do you recommend, Dr. Ken, for someone that knows it? So I'm an entrepreneur, and I know that every time I get a check and every time I get money, I hoard it. I have a hard time spending it. Every time I spend it, it's almost like I'm spending my last breath, and I don't know where the next breath is gonna come from, right? What do you recommend for someone that because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being a realtor, being in all these industries requires the ability to understand discomfort when it comes to creating opportunities and being resourceful.
I do recommend. That's a really hard question, because you're talking about the subconscious mind,
Okay.
and all these thoughts and programs are back in the subconscious mind, and to reprogram the subconscious mind is not a small thing. Your subconscious mind is always active day or night, right? It's active while you sleep. It's active while you're awake. So it's not like, oh, let me just think a new thought. It's more like, let me think a string of new thoughts. Let me alter my way of thinking in a completely different way. And that's where a coach comes in.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? So I'll give you a quick example. One of my clients, Wall Street guy, had a lot of fear. I told him, okay, that's it. You're going to go skydiving. No. Okay, finally we agreed he'd go skydiving. And it was funny because he was making excuses. He called me up on the weekend, and we hadn't spoken on the weekend ever. And he said, I'm not going to go. The weather, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you are going skydiving, or else I'm getting on a plane. I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Okay. And by the way, I had a rapport with the guy. We really loved each other. And I don't normally threaten my clients or make them go skydiving, by the way. But for him, it was necessary to shake things up enough. So he's driving his cars in New York City. So he's driving his car up the West Side Highway. It's early in the morning. He's going skydiving finally. And out of the shadows, he stops in a Starbucks. And out of the shadows, somebody comes up to him, puts a knife to his throat, and says, "Give me your money."
Are you serious?
Yeah. So he
Wow.
without thinking, he pushes the guy away and goes into Starbucks. So he realizes what happened afterwards. But the interesting thing is that his life had changed fundamentally by committing to living his life fully and not committing to safety. I mean, you know the old thing, the memes that have gone around, you know, it's of no use trying to make it safe to an early grave, to your grave. I mean, everybody ends up in the same place. You might as well live your life fully.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah,
you know, basically, it seems like if you live in lack, you're operating from fear, and you're operating from a place that it's almost like a jail. It's like it traps you, and then you're not really living.
Yeah.
And if you're not really living, then what are you doing? You know, like eventually you're gonna die is basically what you're saying. You know, so you got to keep that in mind. It says, listen, you can hoard all this money, but what good is it if eventually you're still gonna die anyways? You might as well live and use it.
And the truth is, this is why you had people in the Great Depression jumping out of windows, because they were so emotionally attached. Oh, you know, I'm saving this money. It's gone. You know, I've got nothing left to live for, which is, you know, it's an affront to God, if you ask me. I mean, in my opinion, my personal opinion, because if you created it once, you just create it again. You know, Napoleon Hill, he lost all his money in the Great Depression, and he just created it again.
Okay, so that's where being resourceful comes back.
Exactly.
We're circling back into, you know, and a modern story. I don't know how many people, you know, I'm going to bring this name up on this podcast or video podcast. Sorry, Dr. Ken, you know, but President Trump, right?
Yeah.
For example, he went bankrupt, but in a couple of days he had it all back again, you know, like,
yeah.
So you did speak about the subconscious mind, which I think is interesting because, you know, I think when you learn how to program your subconscious mind, like you said, you're going to need a facilitator. You're going to need someone to teach you and show you how to do this. There's no way you can program. I mean, I guess you could program it alone, but it's so much faster to have a helper and just have someone like you and just say, hey, Dr. Ken, what do we got to do? What kind, you know, to program my mind, you know?
Well, I don't even think, The tough part is, I don't know if maybe it is possible to do it on your own. I don't know how you would do it, because it's like, you can't, if you have a Microsoft operating system on your computer and the fundamental software is not working, you can't fix it with the fundamental software. It's like the problem in the programming is in the software needs to be upgraded, and that takes a download from someplace else.
I like that. I've never heard it that way before.
I've never said it that way, so.
That's good. You're absolutely right. I mean, I understand computers, so I know that if I want to fix it, if I want to do something, or if I want to install a program that's more advanced, it may not be compatible with the machine that I have. So I might have to either upgrade the machine so that I can run the program. And I think that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
and in order to get an upgrade, it has to come from a place other than yourself. You can't operate it yourself. It's almost like when you're an athlete, right? You're in the game, therefore you have tunnel vision, and you don't see all the opportunities and all the things because you're in the middle of it. So it's really difficult, and that's why the coaches are there to be there to give you the perspective that you're not seeing, the awareness that you might not be noticing because you're so engaged in your own little drama, right? In your own game.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very, very good point. Yeah, great analogy with sports. Yeah.
So cool. So I guess here's the offer, Dr. Ken. I think it's time for us to give our audience an offer about what you're doing, because a lot of people don't know you are currently taking on 10 new clients, right?
Yep.
And those are the only spots available for you in your schedule. You just had a new baby. So you got two toddlers, a baby and a toddler, right? So, and obviously, you have your lifestyle, you have things, but you do have space available for 10. So if you're watching this, it's because Dr. Kent is still taking, those clients, and he's willing to have a conversation with you. I believe it's just, 20-30 minute conversation?
A little bit more. It could be, I say clear your schedule for about an hour. Okay. Usually it's about 30 minutes, but if we get into something we don't want to stop, I'm happy to go as long as it takes, just to see if it would be a good fit. You get a sense of what it's like to really dig in and program and uncover what's going on subconsciously.
Cool. So guys, if you're watching this, you can visit drkenbarrett.com, and you can access Dr. Ken's calendar that way. You could choose a spot. And this is absolutely free, right, Dr. Ken? There's no obligation, no fee for this, correct?
Oh yeah, there's no fee, no obligation. It's my pleasure. Yeah, my schedule does fill up, so go ahead and book on my scheduler, and it's drkenbarrett.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Ken. This was a great talk, and I guess we'll see everybody on the next one.
Yep. Thanks.